For 2020, I really wanted to put some thought into some of the videos I'd be sharing here with you. Subjects that are important to me and to the surrounding communities. Subjects that would create an impact, big enough to spark a change in the world we live in. One subject that has stood the test of time in my community here in Chicago, one that is currently being talked through in the Supreme Court, and one that affects millions of lives, not just here in the US, but all across the world, is immigration. Among the community of immigrants here in the US, there's a group of about 800,000 individuals we call dreamers. These individuals were once brought here as young children. We're talking between months old and a few years old. It wasn't a choice they were given by their parents. They weren't even old enough to make their own decisions. Some were barely starting to make memories in their own homeland. Others' first memories were here in the United States. I'm meeting with a few friends today that experienced this migration firsthand. I've asked them to share some of their earliest memories and thoughts on their family situations. I want you to see that they are no different than the rest of us. I'll keep them hidden for private purposes, but I want you to see how hard it was for them to grow up here and how it's shaped them to be who they are today. I'll also be meeting with two family members who were born here and grew up with immigrant parents. They'll share the difficulties their families went through and how they've done everything they possibly could to grow their chances at being successful and set out to live their best lives.
So one of the things that I remember that really hit home, because it was happening to us when, I realized our, undocumented situation, was with my mother. She used to have a job. She worked, I think, from 3 p.m. till like the next day, 3 a.m. And so, we've always learned, or we are hard workers, and they started asking for, their papers. And my mom was there for like 5 years, and that's where I realized what papers were. I was a kid and I didn't realize why my mom was losing a job until, I just heard my parents talk about it, their struggle, what it was going to be like starting all over looking for a job.
Probably when they would watch TV or hear news that there were these things called vendors going around in the streets and on the highways, and police would be stopping people asking for their papers and their licenses and all the information like that. And I remember my family really worrying about those so-called vendors because they didn't want to accidentally get caught in one of those. So they would always be paying attention to the news and paying attention to each other to try to take care of themselves so they wouldn't get caught dealing with that. And I was always wondering, why don't we just go this street? And they'd be like, no, there's an event going on in that area. We have to avoid that area.
I think the earliest memories I have of that would be having my parents not being able to take certain jobs because of their legal status. So that would have to result in them working for my dad, for example. He would have to go work on landscaping and he would have to resort to that. And the conditions obviously aren't the best. You have to work from early daylight to sunset, and so I think that would be probably the earliest ones I remember.
Growing up, these individuals grew accustomed to their new surroundings. They learned English among other subjects in public schools. They adapted themselves to the American way of living, all while still practicing their native traditions at home.
So because of my situation being illegal here, I wasn't the only one in the family. So, we grew up knowing eventually, hey, this is our situation. We were always very tight with each other as family members. And there were some that, they were born here, grew up here. So the only shock between me being illegal and some of my family members being illegal to my other families that weren't were sometimes were like, well, they were capable of working here and getting a good education and taking advantage of being legal here. And then we're struggling every single day to get by.
I think to me, what shocked me the most was how differently you're treated when you have that legal status given to you. For example, for my brother in his case, he isn't a U.S. citizen, and so seeing how he couldn't get his license right away like all the other teenagers around him that went to school with him was kind of shocking. More so, the one that shocked me the most was how he really couldn't go to college because of his legal status. At that time, there wasn't no solution for it, and if there was, it was extremely difficult to get in there. And just to see how heartbroken he was, that made me like grateful that I was a U.S. citizen, but at the same time really sad that the society we live in has done that to people that only just want to be here for a good life.
I realized I was different from, everyone else around me when, I obviously understood that my mom lost her job because we weren't legal here, but it was tougher to see, I guess, when my mom lost her parents and she couldn't go. I think that struck me the most. So knowing that she was close with them and that she couldn't make it there, I guess that's what still hits me. So I've always knew I was different in that aspect, that we couldn't just go and see our family members and other people could. So that still hits me now.
In 2012, President Barack Obama provided an executive order for a permit program called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. Through this program, these dreamers would finally have a Social Security card, a work permit, and a chance at reaching the American dream. This permit would need to be renewed every 2 years with an attached fee until the government can come up with a more permanent solution. However, in 2017, President Donald Trump challenged this order by announcing plans to phase it out. This would mean all 800,000 DACA recipients would lose their permit and run the risk of having to leave the country that saw them grow up, leave their families behind, and go back to an unknown country. Many courts around the nation withheld President Trump's plans, thus having this case go to the Supreme Court in 2019 with a possible resolution by June of 2020.
Luckily with DACA, I'm able to work, of course, the more we work, the more we spend. I think that's a big factor. We're able, to start our own business. We are more encouraged to start our own business, buy a home. I think that helps the economy, it helps my neighbor, we help each other out. And I think that's something big that a lot of people don't acknowledge, that we're not here to take anyone's job, but we are hardworking, and the more hardworking we are, the more we spend. And that's reality of what's going on here.
I would say that to the president, whether it's Trump or whoever wins the next election, that you have to keep in mind that these people came here without it wasn't their choice to come here. They were brought at a young age, some of them 3 years old, 5 less, and they just grew up thinking they were American. And then one day when they try to get their driver's license or go to college, they find out that they can't because of their legal status, and that's when the heartbreak begins. And I think you should really consider that when thinking about removing DACA or reinstating it and keeping it. I think it's important to know that these people, they're no different from us, or they feel the American colors, and I think they're just as patriotic as us who are U.S. citizens, and we should remember that one.
It's important to be living a happy life because people come to this country to live a happy life, just like people did hundreds of years ago when they came to this country in fear, running away from other places in the world. They came to this country in fear to live a better life, and that's what we should be doing. We should be moving forward. We should be stepping up and taking a chance, and the president should step up and help these people that are taking a chance, because we're supposed to treat each other, we're supposed to love each other and treat each other with respect. And I mean, we should not hate against any country. I mean, we have to love thy neighbor, and we have to help everybody out, no matter what part of the country they're from.
Just for him to give us a chance, like, we're not all bad people. We do work hard. We're not here to take anyone's anything. I think we all individually work as hard as we want, and I think we should be granted, you know, to be legal here, at least residents, because we have been contributing to the economy, just to this country, and a lot of us are passionate about this country. You know, like I said, I love this country. This is where I belong. And if he could just give us individually a chance, hey, you know what, like, there's some good people here, you know, and we do deserve it here. And that's, you know, hopefully his heart cracks a little bit, and, you know, I mean, him or just, you know, just in general, we can get the chance to be here legally and not feel scared of going out there and being sent back to, you know, the country we were born. But like I said, just giving us a chance, you know.
Most Americans agree DACA recipients should be granted a pathway to citizenship. Sure, maybe some dreamers have strayed away. It happens in all sorts of ethnic groups. That doesn't mean all humans are evil, and it doesn't mean all dreamers are bad. Dreamers want to stay here. They want to continue contributing to this country, and they want to continue raising their families here. The only thing that separates them from this dream is a government order that allows them to permanently stay here. I bring this up because I have a suggestion, a possible solution for this long debated issue for the president and for the people. These individuals have grown up here. They know the American history much better than that of their birth country. They've passed the Constitution test in both middle school and in high school. They continue paying their taxes. They contribute to the economy by working here and living here. They're also bilingual. Many have degrees and careers here. Many recipients don't have criminal records. Many of them are financially capable of paying the fees if they would be granted a pathway to citizenship. So why don't you just have dreamers be reviewed on a case-by-case scenario with immigration judges? Filter in the recipients that have good citizen standing records and filter out the ones that don't. I know maybe not everyone will agree with me, but it's a good starting point for moving forward towards a more permanent solution. Mr. President, make the best decision for those individuals that have lived here their whole lives and wish to continue living here, being treated as the Americans that they truly are. Only you have the power to allow these Americans by heart be able to move on with their lives without fear here in America and not continue living life in limbo.